Support WrestleTalk!
Download the podcast.
Hello and welcome to WrestleRamble. This is Luke Owen, I'm Ollie Davis, and today we're going to be reviewing Hell in a Cell, which happened last night. Holy moly, I won't say any of my immediate reactions because that will unfold throughout the show. But if you want to go straight to that discussion, click the timestamp in the video description below or stay right here where we're going to have a little teeny ramble. Because we went on a date at the weekend.
Certainly did. You and I went to go see a warehouse of nothing but wrestling action figures.
Yeah, we visited the website Wrestling Shop. We visited its top secret wrestling base as part of an upcoming project that we'll announce soon. And oh my god, it was just so many action figures.
Racks upon
toys.
racks. No, racks upon racks of action figures and like memorabilia and stuff,
Yeah.
and like all the paraphernalia that comes with Mattel having the WWE license. So that's fake belts, rings, lunchboxes, and pop vinyls. Obviously, talking about companies other than Mattel who have a WWE license.
But it was overwhelmingly action figures.
It really was. It was like every series. It was pretty spectacular. We found some incredible finds within there, including, I thought, an action figure I never thought I would see. And that was a Renee Young action figure.
The Renee Young, that was an eye-opener. Yeah.
It was.
It was just her. She looked a bit... She had weird hair.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really know the levels of quality in wrestling figures. And
You should have been there for the Jax days.
yeah, you had the basics, which Renee Young was part of, poor thing. And then you had the defining elite moment ones. And like the hair looks really good. The belts look... I just wanted to buy some for the belt design alone. But poor old Renee Young just had like one block of plastic for a skirt.
Yep.
One block of plastic for some hair. And then a face that kind of looked like her. But what else did we see? My favourite find was a Team Bad clad Tamina.
Yeah, Tamina action figure in her Team Bad attire.
We were looking for the most obscure, rubbish ones we could find. But there's plenty of awesome ones.
There was actually a figure in there that I suppose I'd never thought I would see. But I've since discovered it's come out quite recently in that Elite series, which was a Dr. Isaac Yankem.
Yeah.
I didn't think it would be that. I suddenly found I was like, oh my god, there's an Isaac Yankem figure.
He got the defining moments treatment. So that was like a really well detailed, super articulated. You know, can twist at the waist and bend at the torso. Whereas poor old Renee Young, she's just basic.
See, now you have not been a collector of action figures, which is something that I have dabbled with in my. I dabbled a little bit in my youth. I had a pretty good collection. Mostly, like Friday the 13th was like that was kind of my collection. That was what I used to go out of my way to buy. I spent a lot of money once. Sideshow Collectibles were doing 12-inch. Well, essentially they were dolls, but they were dolls because they were 12-inch things of Jason. It was like throughout the year, so they'd have like a part 1, which was a Pamela Voorhees, then part 2 when he was Sackhead, part 3, but that was the really expensive one. And I managed to find a boxed mint on card, as they would say, and it cost me £180 to buy to complete my collection.
180
to complete my collection.
Now, I'd never got into the action figure game. I was too busy banging chicks. I was reading comics. Never really got into the action figures side of things.
But you were very you kind of sort of immersed yourself into it, and you really enjoyed the lingo and the language used.
I really like language and the kayfabe stuff and heel and heat and how wrestling fans speak is evolved through Carney. I love stuff like that. So when someone's a super fan of something and they describe something like it's second nature to them, like a shelf warmer just came up in conversation, and they didn't even explain it. And I was like, "So what's a shelf warmer? Never heard that before." And it's like a collector term where these figures are never gonna sell.
A Renee Young is a shelf warmer.
They're just gonna sit there and be a shelf warmer. And I kept on digging into that and learned about case breakdown, chase variants. I loved all the little terminologies, but it was really, really fun. But should we get on with the show, with the review?
I suppose we better add.
So Hell in a Cell 2017 was last night, Luke.
It's in the books.
And last year it was a Raw pay-per-view. Of course, it had the first ever women's main event of a WWE pay-per-view with Sasha Banks going against Charlotte inside Hell in a Cell. And that evil table. The table won that night. Luckily, all tables broke in the right places
They certainly did this time round. Because... I mean, and it's probably a good job that they did as well, because, man, that Detroit crowd wanted them some tables.
They were chanting for tables from the get-go.
I know, and I just felt like grabbing every single one of them. They're like, they're coming.
Yeah.
They'll come eventually.
They're right here, Detroit. In this thing that looks like Michigan, this palm. Podcast listeners,
yeah.
I'm doing the Motor City machine guns. So easy to nearly call the Motor City machine guns something else. I always nearly slip motor...
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right, I'm with you.
I always have to slow down when I say that name. But yes, the show kicked off with the kick-off show, the pre-show, whatever you want to call it. There was a few. I didn't watch all of the interviews, but Aiden English was on there. Charlotte had a little backstage bit.
I didn't watch it at all.
But did you watch the match?
No, I didn't.
Oh, you didn't even watch the match?
No, I had to go onto Wrestling Observer to find out who won.
Okay, well, this was the pre-show match was Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin versus the Hype Bros. And they showed a few clips in the build-up to this that I hadn't seen before. And apparently they'd actually kind of been feuding with those WWE Online clips.
Okay.
Like the American Beta would be cutting a promo and the Hype Bros would be arguing elsewhere because they just lost the match, and then they'd have a bit of a confrontation between the two.
Oh, okay.
The sort of stuff that really should go on your main program.
Yeah, the stuff that feels a bit natural.
But this was a perfectly fine opener. Went about 7-10 minutes. Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin won. They're of course very good. I like Mojo Rawley now. This new kind of more pissed off version of Mojo. I really like. I think he's got presence. Zack Ryder's that ship sailed a long time ago.
Well, a long time.
But because Mojo is lacking in some parts, it's wise to pair them together. So I really hope they turn heel as a unit rather than them both splitting off.
Well, Meltzer noted in the Wrestling Observer reviews, the one takeaway that I did have from it was that they were wearing different coloured tights to further show their dissension. They're not even wearing matching colours anymore.
The one takeaway from the match you didn't watch.
Well, yeah, because I read through the review, but that was my one takeaway from that review.
Well, that's very. My takeaway though is they it was about 2 minutes into the match, and I thought, what's wrong with this match? It's nothing in the ring. I realised they haven't got a hard cam. And I'm not kidding. Go back and watch this match. There are no hard cam shots until right at the end.
Oh wow!
And the hard cam shot is essentially a guy at ringside filming through the bottom and middle rope. So you're looking up at everything.
Looks like a house show recording.
It looks like an indie show. Yeah, but, with very good cameras, and you cut into loads of other bits. But it wasn't from the stands where the hard cam traditionally is. That only came in at the end in the celebration. I thought, God, this is a pre-show match. They haven't even got the hard cam turned on or framed up. I thought that was astounding.
I found the separate costume things to be an interesting note, particularly because Dean Ambrose and Seth Rollins don't wear the same outfits either.
Yeah, consistency. So, the Hype Bros lost and they didn't turn heel. That was my prediction. That was my hoping prediction. I knew in my head American Beta seemed to be being groomed for the next number one contenders spot. But I was hoping for a New Day retention and a Hype Bros heel turn to go up against them. I hedged my bets because I went for the Usos. But you won this round. You won the pre-show round.
Thank you.
You went for Gable and Benjamin. I went.
Yeah, I had a feeling. I had a feeling the Usos were going to win the Hell in a Cell, and they were going to need new number one contenders. And what better tag team than pretty much the only other tag team that is being pushed at the moment?
The Ascension.
Yes.
Yeah.
And being outside of being pushed as a joke, as being pushed as a punchline.
What? How dare you? The Ascension got over as mega baby faces this night.
Oh no, absolutely, and I do not undispute that. Undispute that? I do not dispute that.
You've been watching too much NXT.
Apparently so. Cracking episode of NXT this week, by the way. Absolutely cracking episode.
So the main show kicked off with a bang. and then a trombone, and then some cymbals. Because it was the New Day defending their SmackDown Tag Team Championships against the Usos in a Hell in a Cell match. I wish they just called it a penitentiary match and put a few gimmicks. Yeah. Because there were so many weapons used. You could have them hanging off the walls. A little shower area. I don't know how far you want to go with it.
This match was carnage from the word go until the final bell. And I loved every single second of it.
It was incredible.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, and you say carnage, and sometimes carnage can mean just all over the place, but still pretty fun. This was so well controlled. Like, everyone was on top of what they were doing while making it look like it was complete chaos. And that's what I assume that's the hardest thing to do. You know, like how they say that the hardest thing to do is be a bad comedy wrestler, because you actually have to wrestle very, very well to wrestle bad and pull it off convincingly. And I don't think that comparison actually really works here. But my initial thought of this, as soon as it started, was, what, Xavier's in the ring? Because he's been out injured since after SummerSlam. And I just assumed...
Kofi that was injured.
No, Kofi knocked his knee at a house show, but he was cleared the next day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so there was like a question mark over him. But Xavier Woods has been carrying the knee brace. He hasn't been involved in any of the matches or anything physical. And I thought, this is your return match. The Hell in a Cell match.
It did feel like, because when they were walking in, particularly Xavier Woods, who, you know, has grown up a big WWE fan his whole life. You know, he was a teenager during the Attitude Era, so this is very much like something that means a lot to him. I can imagine that when they said they were going to do a tag team Hell in a Cell match, he was like, I have to be a part of that. And you can almost see that before he walked in. He took a lot of like a deep breath before he walked in, of like finally, I get to have this match.
Yeah,
because I suppose, sorry to cut you off there, I suppose if you're part of a tag team, you're always going to think like, well, I'll never get inside Hell in a Cell. So
I'll have ladder match after ladder match.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think that for them it was like a really big deal, and so I was really happy for them to get that.
They really sold it well, didn't they? When they walked in and they looked up at the cage, and it was just it felt momentous. And then the Usos, it wasn't like a big pull apart brawl like later on in the night between Shane and Owens, but they just both stood there in the ring and looked at each other as the cell descended with Kofi on the outside.
And what I would say as well about this pay-per-view, and credit to both the Usos and the New Day, as well as Owens and Shane O'Mac, was that it's very difficult to do a pay-per-view when you have two of the same gimmick match. You and I recently did our WrestleRamble Extra episode on Money in the Bank 2011, which featured two Money in the Bank ladder matches. And the work that you have to do to make sure that you're doing the same match, but you've got to make them feel different. And these were two, I'd say, of the best Hell in a Cell matches we've had in quite some time, and they both felt very different. And I thought it was really, really great work on all of their parts.
Yeah, it was like what I was most impressed by. Well, there were two components of how impressed I am with this match. The first one was how dangerous they made stuff look that was actually very, very safe. So you've got to remember, this is all working within a PG format, and they managed to make things look really violent without blood and stuff that is comparatively very, very safe. Like the bit where, I can't remember which Uso it was, but he's in the corner and they're wedging the kendo sticks to trap him.
Genius spot.
And it's up against his face, and he looks like he's properly trapped there, and it looks horrible. Like that, it just looks like some form of torture.
Yeah.
And whichever Uso it was selling it superbly.
I thought it was Jimmy.
It was Jimmy.
Yeah,
that's good.
And sorry, because I made that note. I loved that spot. It was one of my favourite spots in there. My other favourite spots within the match, the one that just like jumped out to my mind, was the Uranagi off the ring apron into a backstabber, because that looked like it hurt really. And
everyone.
Okay, didn't it? Just because like down on Xavier's injured knee, and then whichever Uso it was taking the move. Oh, no thanks. Do not sign me up to take that move.
Because it kind of looked...
The people's elbow, that's the move I'm taking.
Yeah. I don't... Like, to me, it looked like they didn't hit it right. It just looked like Xavier Woods leapt underneath him and didn't get his knees up.
Yeah.
But full credit for an innovative spot. Like
so good.
Because they're in the back thinking, we had this really well-received match at SummerSlam. How do we top it? Everyone's looking forward to this match. We've created this expectation. And they've gone back And they haven't just said, let's call it on the night, blah, blah, blah. They've gone back and they have worked out some really cool, innovative spots, like the bit where he's trapped in the corner of the cage, like the uranagi off the ring apron, like the bit with Xavier Woods suspended on the handcuffs and him just getting tortured with the kendo sticks.
Ow.
It just felt so cool, like torturous.
Yeah. I mean, I've written down here, it's this year and this month marks the 20th anniversary of the Hell in a Cell. We had our first one at Bad Blood in '97, and here we are now 20 years later. We've had like 5,000 Hell in a Cell matches because they do them so often these days. And yet, 20 years later, these four lads have found ways to make this just feel brand new and fresh and original. You can't say that for when Randy Orton and Sheamus had a Hell in a Cell match. And you're looking at me blankly because everyone forgets that they had a Hell in a Cell match, because that's what Hell in a Cell became. It just became something you put lads in because it was a gimmicked pay-per-view, and so you have to do it. So even if it's a feud that doesn't necessitate a Hell in a Cell, they just had Hell in a Cell matches. So they just became really boring and pedestrian. But now, it's matches like this where you're like, and the main event where you go, yeah, the Hell in a Cell can be really great. And it's like when Dean and Seth had one a couple of years ago. It's the same deal there where you're like, man, these matches can be good. And I loved it.
I was thinking about, how important the Hell in a Cell gimmick used to be in terms of the end of a feud. And how, if anyone, back in my day, when I was watching as a kid, if someone said, and it's going to be inside Hell in a Cell, I'd be like, oh my God! Yeah. That's the most insane news! We get like one of those every 2 years! This is going to be amazing! That's all I'd think about. And it was a genuine pop moment. But then I was thinking, and this was only the other day I was thinking this, why didn't Xavier Woods get more of a pop when they announced it at Smackdown against the Usos?
Because no one goes to Smackdown tapings.
There's that. There's the fact that it was a third fall, probably. There's also the excuse of, wrestling news, like our site, is a lot bigger these days, so it might have been spoiled for people. That news had been leaked like 2-3 weeks earlier. But I think, and a lot of people are like, oh, you've spoiled this for us. I think the very fact of having a pay-per-view called Hell in a Cell that everyone knows is coming up, like everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, so that's the one that's going there, rather than, oh my God, a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah.
So that's a bit of a tangent. The second component to how I enjoyed this match, which I think is the reason this match works so well. Of course, you've got these really innovative spots on top. Like these are the really cool dressing of the salad or the icing on top of the cake. Those really violent-looking PG spots, essentially. But underneath that was the drama and the storytelling and the emotions. I don't think anyone's going to talk about this because he played his part so well that it's not really going to get noticed, and that's Kofi Kingston on the outside, looking through the cage, reacting to stuff. He always seemed to be in the right spot for the cameras, and then it's just when you get that extra level of, oh, this is how I'm meant to feel, oh, this is really serious, by seeing Kofi's reactions on the outside. He's a spectator just like we are. I thought that was a really nice touch, and he did it perfectly. The way the Usos would gang up on a New Day member, that was a really nice narrative, with Xavier, especially with the handcuffs.
Like their gang mentality. Loved it.
Yeah, but the best part for me was when Big E went rage. And he suddenly stood up and he was like, no, I've had enough of this. There's no comedy. This is me, everyone. If you've ever wondered, this is me as a total badass.
Yep.
And he just beat the crap out of everyone.
There was sorry, go on.
I was going to say the spot I'm thinking of is when he ran with one of the Usos into the cage and then he ran into the other one where another Uso was.
That's actually the exact point I was about to raise, because then there was a great line from Corey Graves on commentary when he said he's Big E209, a reference to RoboCop, which is set in Detroit.
Oh, nice work,
Nice
Corey.
work, Corey.
That's not the only time you did nice work tonight, because you saved a lot of potentially angry comments from one referee call. But yeah, it was just all great stuff all the way through, and the finish was superb. You had Big E was now taken out because the numbers game overcame him, and then they just get Jimmy and Jay hit something. I can't remember what it was.
The double splash.
I think because he had a really good kick out of the double splash.
And then they did a double splash on the chair.
Yeah, but that was on Xavier.
Yes.
So
you're talking about Big E, sorry.
Yeah, so Big E was down, one of the Usos covered him, And then Xavier Woods, who I'd forgotten about, ran in with the handcuffs still on. And he pushed Big E out the way. And it was like, what a desperation babyface move. And then I was like, thank God Woods was in this match. Because although Kofi's great, that like Xavier's younger. He has that baby face. He's smaller. It works. That spot works for him more. And then the Usos, of course, it's 2 guys against 1 who's in handcuffs. And they beat the crap out of him. Double splash onto a chair. New champions. Brilliant.
I loved it. I did think when he came back in with the handcuffs and he started making a bit of a comeback, I was like, someone's been watching Ring of Honor.
When did they do that recently?
With the Hangman Page.
Oh,
with the Young Bucks.
Yeah, it was the gaffer tape, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank God he didn't hit a moonsault like Page did. Jesus. So we both had the Usos down there. So at this point, it's 2-1 to Luke.
Certainly is.
And this is a roller coaster of a pay-per-view prediction.
Just.
Next up, we had Randy Orton versus Rusev.
Well, we just before that, we had 2 things to note here. First of all, it was announced on the pre-show that it was now a triple threat match for the United States Championship. We talked about this last week. We thought they were going to announce it on Smackdown. Then they didn't. So I was like, oh, maybe they'll announce it in the week. And then they didn't. Didn't even do it on WWE.com. And then they announced on the pre-show. And my first thought was just, why didn't you do this on Smackdown? Like, what did you what benefited it from announcing it on the pre-show?
Absolutely ludicrous. Because the idea would be, surely, well, you've got, the idea is so Ty can take the pin, I guess, and you can have what turned out to be an excellent match. But surely, like, if you're going to do it, you thought, well, seeing that we're doing it, let's try and get everyone over as much as we can. You announced that on SmackDown, where the vast majority of your audience is watching. I don't know what the percentage is, but I'd imagine 5% of SmackDown's viewers watch the pay-per-view. So only 5% get that Ty bump. Why not give it to all the 2.5 million that watch SmackDown on Tuesday?
I agree.
Totally bizarre. And you can build more, like, that is a more exciting match to build to. Just complete waste of Dillinger in that.
Considering the booking that you had for Dillinger on SmackDown, where he beat Baron Corbin.
It's the perfect place to do it. Yeah. And it just makes everyone look a bit rubbish, because then he goes to Daniel Bryan and says, put me in the match. And Bryan's like, yeah, fair enough. Yeah. Like, this is the day of the show.
Like, so I didn't see the whole interview thing. They showed like a clip of it during the actual Hell in a Cell show I did, and they did like the 10 yes thing. Yeah. But that, to me, now you can correct me on this in the comments, that felt to me like that had been taped on Tuesday, because I don't think Daniel Bryan was there last night. If he was, he'd have been on Talking Smack rather than Pete Rosenberg.
That's a good point.
So if that was taped on Tuesday, and it might have been taped on Tuesday to put on the show, but then they just ran out of time and didn't bother, and it's like, well, we'll just save that and put that on the pre-show instead, which I also feel a little bit about the Fashion Files, but we'll come on to that a little bit later on. I've also written here, I don't know who she interviewed, but she's one of the worst robots they've got. It's not Dasher, it's the other one.
Yeah.
But she was horrendous. Very, very bad. I can't even remember who she interviewed because she was so bad at her job.
Yeah. Well, she got herself under. You were more concerned with how under she was.
Yeah.
So Randy Orton versus Rusev. This, it's been a fun feud because of It's mainly been just like Rusev and Aiden English having a laugh, and then Randy Orton RKOs someone.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton isn't the most interesting character to build this kind of feud around, so it's worked from that respect. It's not really a story I'm invested in.
That's because it's been so one-sided. You could argue that Rusev pinning Randy Orton in 9 seconds is like him getting one up on Randy Orton, but that was like, it was a 2-on-1 thing. Yeah. Randy had just faced match, so Rusev didn't really get a win over him at all. So this feud has really just been like Rusev and Aiden English being goofy and Randy Orton hitting an RKO out of nowhere, and has won both of the matches that this feud has had.
Yeah, my problem with this match, and it was fine. Like as a wrestled match, it was fine. It didn't have. It was pleasurable to watch.
They were professional wrestlers having a professional wrestling match and doing it well.
But my problem with it is just the latest example of something I've started to see a lot of, but I haven't spoken about it, and that is WWE's almost new form of 50-50 booking, which isn't you're going to win, so the next guy's going to beat you next week. It's, you're going to lose, so you're going to take 90% of the match, and then the other guy's going to beat you with 3 moves at the end. Mm-hmm. And that's, like, as soon as Rusev was taking the majority of the match, 5 minutes in, I was like, well, Randy's winning, surely. And yeah, that's exactly what happened. Randy just hit a few moves at the end. Bad Rusev day.
I did like one spot. Yeah, I was going to say, most of this match was just Rusev hit a move and then would just shout, it had to be Rusev day or it's Rusev day.
That was great. That was great.
There was one spot in this match I really did like, though, which was when Randy Orton does his little Transformers spinning move where he then slaps the mat. And as he hit the mat, Rusev grabbed his hands and just like maneuvered himself into an accolade position. Yeah, I was like, oh, that's a really cool spot.
Yeah.
But so this match, I can't put this match better than Vinny put it on the Brian and Vinny review, which was like, it was the most Randy Orton match I've seen in quite some time.
Yeah, it was the most autopilot in that. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah.
But hey ho, the next match.
Whoa!
Oh, you've got a bit more.
You are skipping over stuff left, right, and centre here. Is Colonel Sanders in the WWE video game?
Maybe that's some custom attire you can
put
on Kurt
it's
Angle.
Genuinely, he is a playable character. It's like Fred Durst in the SmackDown game that he was in, which I find baffling. And also,
are you sure it isn't the architect from The Matrix?
Also, it's there's 2K games that come under fire, as you and I were discussing yesterday with the whole NBA 2K18 putting microtransaction and loot boxes and stuff, and there's going to be that sort of microtransaction stuff in WWE 2K18. But also, and this is horrible, they're now getting people to sponsor trophies that you win. You know, so that you achievements. So KFC have sponsored a achievement, and Snickers have as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I can't wait for the Mars Bar Championship belt on 205 Live.
There's also, and you're not going to hear me say this very often, there's a very good line from Byron Saxton just before this triple threat kicked off.
I'm glad he's coming around.
So Ty's making his entrance, and that was when they used that time to go, let's go to all of our commentators from around the world. And they go all the way down the line. I love it when they go down the line. Love Sean Dang, he's great. And Funaki. Love seeing all of them there together. And then at the end of it, Corey Grave goes, every single one of them said they're happy because they're not working with Byron Saxton. And Byron goes, oh, really? I better check Rosetta Stone.
See, that's his character. He's just absolutely dicked on by everyone. He's like, oh, fair play. Yeah. And I really enjoy Byron Saxton.
Really made me chuckle.
For my sins. So, yes, the 3-way US title match was next. Ty Dillinger was added to it. Baron Corbin, AJ, and Ty. And holy moly, US title matches can be pretty good when there isn't an advert break put in the middle of it, or shrunk into a tiny screen in the corner.
Or when Baron Corbin's not just weighting it down in a one-on-one match, where it's bear in mind, Baron Corbin one-on-one matches are just bear hugs. You can't get away with that in a triple threat, mate.
Well, it was so non-stop. It wasn't a traditional 3-way or WWE 3-way where one guy's out the ring and he's sort of awkwardly peering over like that guy from Home Improvement on the fence, watching for his bit to run in, and then someone else gets. So it's only a 2-on-2 match, but
a one-on-one match.
Yeah, a one-on-one match, but a revolving
door.
Revolving door. And
it's a good job I'm here sometimes.
Yeah, finish my words.
Sandwiches.
Yeah, and this was just move with all of them, and it worked. It was a really good pacing. Baron actually was just doing his power stuff at the start. I thought they made Baron look really, really good in the first half of the match, and then there were just some really, really nice spots. My favourite being the opposite turnbuckles.
Oh, so awesome!
Corbin move. Then Dillinger would reverse a move. AJ would reverse that move, and then there was just this strike combination where Baron was down, Ty turned round, AJ hit him with the Pele kick, and Baron fell backwards.
No, Ty fell down.
So yeah, Ty fell backwards and just pinned Corbin by accident.
It was so
good. Corbin kicked out.
That was awesome.
That was a really, there were a lot of really well planned out wrestling spots in this match, in this whole night.
And I tell you what, I usually am not a big fan of this finish, but it works so well for the story that they've been telling here, which is that AJ hits his finish. He hits the phenomenal forearm, which he's been trying to do all match. Finally hits it on Ty Dillinger, and then Baron just runs in and boots AJ like you've never seen, and he just falls out the ring. AJ taking crazy bumps because that's what AJ does, and Baron Corbin steals the pin. Yeah. The perfect finish to this match, because the whole thing is just like, you're the cheap shop artist. You always backdoor your way into victories. You can never win the big one on your own. You choke against John Cena. You choked when you had Money in the Bank. But if you can cheat, or if someone can help you, then you can win. Oh, what a perfect ending to that match. I loved the finish.
And it's really helped put Corbin back to where he should be. Like, he should never have been in the main event with the Money in the Bank.
He wasn't
briefcase.
ready.
He, to be honest, shouldn't have been facing John Cena. And he was really exposed, and whatever happened backstage happened, and he was punished quite obviously on screen. But now this is where he should be. Like, he's in the mid-card title picture, which actually is the WWE Championship. So he's in the other one. He's in the United States. And you know what? I'm like, I actually like Baron Corbin. He was just being pushed too hard.
Yeah.
But this Baron Corbin, big fan of. He looked like enough of a badass early on in the match, where the cheapened victory felt fine because it just felt like a smart move to do.
And especially if AJ was on Talking Smack afterwards, and he was talking about, they kind of did talk about the US title picture. However, the purpose of that interview felt like he was actually moving himself into the Shane O'Mac storyline with Owens and Sami.
Yeah. Which
Which means that now this US title picture can be Baron and Ty, which can hopefully elevate Ty a little bit more, and maybe we can see some more faces come in to that and create like a little mini division around there.
Well, that would be perfect, because AJ, his US title reign has been a flop, let's be honest. And
because
he needs to go up again.
he was never given the chance to do. Like, he should have been John Cena in 2015 when he was having the best match on TV every single week. That should have been AJ's role. But all of his matches, as you said, were just put into ad breaks, given 3 minutes. You can't get a great match out of 3 minutes.
And he hardly been. He wasn't on TV at all for a month since early September, because WWE's plan is apparently to keep him off shows, so people stick around for the AJ Styles dark match after Smackdown, so people watch 205 Live. So that's also affected it as well.
Yeah, I think that's, yeah.
And so next up, we had... So, Baron's the new US champion.
Absolutely.
Looks good on him.
And who predicted that?
Yes.
Little old me.
So, at this point now, we have... You also predicted Randy Orton correctly.
Of course I did, because Randy has to win.
So, it's... Oh, I predicted Baron Corbin too. So, it's 2-4.
3-2. Oh, yes, you're right.
4-2 to you.
Yeah.
So, I'm behind. What's going to happen? You'll have to find out. My smile probably gives it away, though. Charlotte versus Natalya next.
Can I give you a little fun fact here?
Is it about Becky Lynch?
It is, because I went back and did some research. So Becky Lynch hasn't had a one-on-one pay-per-view match since February. She's been part of multi-person matches, Money in the Bank and WrestleMania and probably Backlash, but she hasn't had a one-on-one match since February, which also means that she hasn't had a storyline all year long.
Yeah.
That is a criminal waste of one of your best female wrestlers.
All-rounders
actually,
as well.
one of your best wrestlers. I shouldn't say female wrestlers because it's a bit insulting. One of your best wrestlers on the roster, and you've just not used her at all.
I wouldn't say she's one of the best wrestlers on the whole roster, but she's definitely in the best in the women's division, but she is one of the best talkers.
Yeah.
Like, as an all-round performer, she's superb. And you're having Lana and Tamina. Like, how much time has been wasted on Lana and Tamina?
But could you have not organised a sub-storyline with Becky Lynch?
And Becky Lynch.
Yeah, exactly. And Tamina. If you're meant to be building Tamina up, and you're looking to push her, I think that's what they're trying to do. Like, try and fix some storylines rather than just say you're doing it and then wait till it's her turn to go for the title, rather than just having one storyline per month. Yeah,
that is a problem. I mean, one of my criticisms of the whole pay-per-view was that it was probably one match too long, so I wouldn't have added another match.
I'm not saying to add another. Oh, you could have put it on the pre-show, I suppose. Build out that pre-show so it's more than just.
I watched the pre-show, so I wouldn't want the pre-show match. So yes, Charlotte beat Natalya in the. Yes, that's right. Yeah, I got confused then. That is right. Charlotte beat Natalya, but it was by DQ. So Natalya just got out the chair. It was an interesting match. And one that you have a problem with the finish. I don't necessarily, because I think it's part of a larger story. So Natalya works over Charlotte's leg for the whole match, really. And for me, it was weird seeing this dominant heel in Charlotte. You know, ever since she's been on the main roster, she's been this dominant, bad guy. Never really sells like this. And now she's doing a babyface selling in peril. And I just thought, this doesn't feel right.
Oh no, I thought she did a really good job of it.
She did do a real good job of it, but it was strange seeing her, especially because she's so much taller than Natalya, and I just associate her face with this cocky, which I love. I'm a big fan of Charlotte. It was just peculiar to see her in the babyface in peril role for me. But yeah, she did do a good job.
She did, and I actually really enjoyed this match, although it was a very quiet crowd. I think the crowd was so hot for the Usos match, and then they were very hot because Randy Orton has made his entrance, and despite Randy being a product of a bygone era, he is still one of the most over people on the entire roster.
The US title match was great.
US title match was great, but then the crowd just started to and the crowd did dip down a lot for the next few matches, particularly in this match. And I really enjoyed the build to the moonsault. I liked Charlotte doing the one-legged hop up. She attempted it 4 times before doing the big moonsault to the outside. But I do take issue with the finish, only because I think that in this storyline, it doesn't overly make sense. It does make sense in the Jinder storyline. If you'd have done this finish in the Jinder storyline, that would have been a perfect end to that match and to carry on that, to be the next chapter in that story. Here, though, the build has never been that Natalya can't beat Charlotte without cheating. And it just really came out of nowhere. Now, there is a storyline that you possibly could tell in this, but I felt that the commentators didn't tell this story, so I don't know if this is what they were trying to do, which was that Natalya was like, I've injured you so much, I've injured your leg so much, and yet you've just done a moonsault off a top rope, so clearly my tactics aren't working. I better try something else. I'll hit you with a chair. If that's the storyline they're telling, grand. But have the commentators try and put that over, because the commentators did not put that over.
Yeah, as much as I enjoyed the turnbuckle spot as well and how it was teased and built up throughout the match, I was really hoping they were going to do the Kenny Omega one-legged moonsault, which he did in a G1 match, I think. But she ended up doing a proper moonsault with both legs, so I thought that was a bit of a missed opportunity. But in terms of the finish, you talk about that hasn't been the story of the feud so far, but there hasn't been a story of the feud so far. This is the first meeting of them in this most recent program. This is you had the build to the match, just a normal match, and then you have this is your next beat. This is your story beat. I'm Natalya. I don't feel like I'm going to lose. I'm just going to whack you in the leg with a chair for the lulz of it.
But you're kind of already telling that story with Jinder, which is Jinder has always got the Singh brothers interfering for him. He's always cheating to win.
Yeah. But to say you don't have to do it here, I agree. These two, having this finish would have worked a lot better for Jinder and Nakamura, but that isn't to say it doesn't work here.
Okay, yeah. I'll absolutely take that on board. But it was really interesting because a lot of people were kind of surprised that Charlotte didn't win the belt here. But my feelings on this, and this is kind of pretty much what the video package was telling us, was that the big Charlotte's title win will be when Rick is well enough to come back and he can accompany her to a show. So I think if you're telling that story and you're going to do the Natalya cheating and you're going to say she's now the new dirtiest player in the game, that's kind of fine. I'd have probably just done it without getting a DQ finish, because the idea of being the dirtiest player in the game is that you cheat to win, but you still win.
Yeah.
Whereas Natalya didn't win.
But I guess she kept her title. But yeah, I see the point too. Don't be too down on this. And I know WWE don't have the best track record in following up on stories, but to me, this is only the first chapter, and this could turn out to be a really good story by the end of it. With like you said, Ric Flair's return, Chuck Bret Hart in there, and you have
replay the
NXT angle, which would be a really fun story. Next up, speaking of fun stories, the return of the Fashion Files.
In a segment clearly that was meant to air on Tuesday and was just put on the pay-per-view instead.
Yeah. The pop from the crowd when they saw the Fashion Files logo. So you just got the video package. They kept some of the crowd noise in. The Detroit crowd go crazy for that logo.
As well you should.
And just what a fun opening package. It was great all the way through. The including the Ascension.
The cast of Entourage.
Not including the cast of Entourage. The Ascension have got their name the wrong way round, and they smile, and it's goofy. The stuff on the background.
Tooth Fairy 3.
Yep, and allergic to sleeves. And they had a picture of Kevin Owens and Randy Orton. That really
the other one that made
me
me laugh was there was a picture of Raven. It just said, "That's so Raven."
Nice.
Very good.
They're just the way they were so flippant about that previous case, the 2B case, were like, oh man, that was a crazy way we solved that story.
Yeah.
They did the remembering thing and they just came back. They didn't do a flashback. I was like, you are so good at this. I'm not even angry that
gonna
you have trolled me.
That you started a storyline, didn't know where it was going, and just dropped it.
Yeah, that's a testament to how entertaining they are. The Ascension stuff was fun.
It got even better because then the Ascension came in with all their face paint on, but wearing disguises, so they didn't recognise them, and they were given a tube, and they're like, "Oh, we put the wrong guy away. This case is still open," but it's not. It was just a picture of the Ascension, saying, "We want to be your friends." Yeah. And then my favourite line was when they're like, "I mean, it can't be the Ascension. If we do all of this build-up, and it's just the Ascension, that will be rubbish."
Yeah, it was just the right amount of self-aware to sort of negate any like anger that I would have had. You know, on Tuesday I was pretty angry, but I wasn't angry about them not paying off the storyline. I was angry about not seeing the Fashion Files. That's all I want, really. I just want more and more Fashion Files stuff. And yeah, they teased the Pulp Fashion,
where they're going to do the Pulp Fiction thing that was reported. Was that reported by?
That was PW Insider.
PW Insider, yeah. So again, perhaps I am just making some assumptions here, but I do feel like that Pulp Fiction one was meant to be on the pay-per-view, but they had to do the one that was meant to be on Tuesday, but they ran out of time or whatever.
They ran out of time for that. They ran out of time for Ty Dillinger get added.
What was on that show that
that much
that went so long they had to bump 2 segments?
There was the really good Usos. Who's the
Usos?
It was New Day and the Usos. There was the Rusev thing, I think, and there was the Kevin Owens Shane McMahon thing.
Maybe they wanted to give that more time.
But there was plenty else they could have gotten rid of. Like the whole feud between Jinder Mahal and Shinsuke Nakamura. Segue.
Nice.
So, yes, the WWE Championship match.
In theory, the most prestigious title within World Wrestling Entertainment.
Yeah.
And I mean, man, I feel like we're beating a drum here, but this Jinder experiment it's not working. And it's not Jinder's fault, and it's not Nakamura's fault, but it is the piss poor booking they have done with him since making him champion. He's been given the Jack Swagger, the Rey Mysterio, the CM Punk's first title win, where there's like, we're giving you the belt, but we're not making you champion. You are not the guy. You are not the face of this brand. You're just going to hold this for a bit because we need you to do something for us, i.e. we're having a tour in India, so we kind of need you to be champion for that. But we're not going to make you champion, so just hold on to that belt for a little while. And by doing that, they've just completely devalued the WWE Championship to the point now when Nakamura does eventually win it, it doesn't really feel like that big of a deal because he's winning what feels like the European title at this point. It's probably not that low, but still. And it's a real shame because you really could have had something with Jinder as champion. You really could have had something with him, but they just decided not to.
I was thinking about this, and I don't know if it's as simple as how he's been booked as a weak champion. I think the problems are more fundamental in that he isn't a main eventer. Like, even if you booked him as a dominant champion, I just don't think it would have worked. It's kind of like, and seeing Baron Corbin in the United States picture, in that solid mid-card position, I was like, there we go. That's what I need. Maybe in a couple of years, I will see Baron Corbin as a main event player. But right now, he's mid-card, and he feels really good at mid-card. That, like, it fits him. And that's what Jinder Mahal would be. Because he did go from a jobber straight into a main event spot without the promo ability, without the main event wrestling experience. And he just hasn't connected. But put him with this exact same gimmick in the United States title picture, I'm like, fair play. Like, this is fine.
As a counter argument to that, I'd be Wade Barrett. Wade Barrett went from being an NXT rookie to instantly into the main event picture, and at no point did we go like, oh, that's a bit soon. But that's because they'd put him into this killer angle and put him within this group that they position them straight as main eventers. It's actually the same as the Shield. The Shield debuted, they were all NXT guys, but they came in and they were instantly put in there with Cena, Ryback, Daniel Bryan, Kane. They were put into these, and they were, here, you need to take these guys seriously. These guys are a threat, let's take them seriously. If they'd have done any of that sort of booking with Jinder and the Singh brothers, we wouldn't be having this conversation, because if they'd been positioned as a threat, as an actual main event act, these matches would have felt more, the storylines would have meant more, but they've not. They've just booked him like a chump. They've not had him wrestle on TV. They've not had him credibly win anything. And the Singh brothers are goofballs. He's a goofball. So it just makes the whole thing seem like ridiculous.
My counter.
I look forward to it.
This is like a proper good counter match where I've just reversed your hold into my hold.
It's like the Usos New Day match.
Yeah. So that would have made it better, sure. But the examples you used of the Shield and Wade Barrett, those are characters and wrestlers that we didn't, the vast majority of viewers didn't have any previous experience with. So it's easier to accept someone to be put straight in there who's come out of nowhere and they're in the top. Like, that's what they should have done with Shinsuke. Like, here's a big player, he's right in the main event scene. They've somewhat fudged that, though. But Jinder, we've had like 7 years of him being...
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, he was 3MB and all that,
Yeah,
and then
you
he came back
can't
and he was Rusev's lackey for a little bit, and he, last time we saw him before he was champion, was accidentally knocking out Finn Balor. So, and you and I said this at the time, that if they were going to put the belt on him, at least give him this bit of build. In fact, really, if anything, I don't know why they didn't just hold off to until roundabout sort of now, a little bit before now, to put the belt on him, because you could have actually used that time while he's been champion to build him up into that championship picture and then put the belt on him.
Let him win it in
win it in India.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what some people thought they might do, that Shinsuke was going to win it, because I think there was some listing that billed him as a 2-time champion.
Yeah. Well, there's still time. I wouldn't put it past WWE to have him lose the title on Tuesday and then win it back in India.
Yeah.
So the actual match we should probably talk about. But what is there to talk about?
Well,
it was fine. It was a fine match.
It's every Jinder match you've ever seen. And here is something that I think definitely could be talked about. So Shinsuke came out, he got a reaction. He got a good reaction, not a great reaction. It's not the sort of reaction he should be getting. And the Singh brothers came out. As soon as the Singh brothers were it was like, and now the Singh brothers. Ooh, heavy boos for the Singh brothers. As soon as Jinder came out, crickets. Jinder is getting less boos than the Singh brothers are. So the Singh brothers are hated, but Jinder's no one cares. Everyone's just indifferent to him.
Well, I guess it's because the Singh brothers get all the heat.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Singh brothers, they do the cheating for Jinder to capitalise, and which is how this match ended.
Pretty much, yeah. The other thing as well from this match is they did Jinder was working over Shinsuke's knee, which we just saw in the previous match. So agents not communicating with each other, I feel.
Yeah, I always remember that scene in The Wrestler, when they're going over bits backstage. And,
yeah.
Oh, you guys, they overhear something. Oh, you guys working the arm? Oh, no, we work the leg. We work the leg.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't do the same storyline in 2 matches.
Yeah, especially consecutive ones.
Yes.
So the Singh brothers were going to be ejected from ringside because they kept on hopping up onto the ring apron and distracting proceedings. And while the referee was trying to throw them out, Kinshasa! And Jinder gets a visual pin. Nakamura gets a visual pin on Jinder. The referee comes in, kick out.
Well, no, he gets his hand on the ropes.
Oh, it was a hand on the ropes.
Again, talking about agents not talking to each other. They then did that in the Kevin Owens Shane McMahon match.
We'll come on to that then.
Yeah, just have a chat with each other. If you're going to do spots, don't have the same spot in a future match.
Especially one that doesn't work within the confines of the rules.
Again, we'll come on to that.
Then Jinder beat Nakamura with the Cassius.
The Colossus.
The Colossus. The Cassas.
What did you call it?
The Cassius Ono.
The Crucix.
So Jinder retains dirty yet again.
Should have been a DQ finish. That would have been a much better end to this match, in my humble opinion.
I mean, there was going to be no good finish. Even if
there was a DQ finish.
Even if Nakamura won the belt, that should have happened last month.
Yeah.
So it's just one fart that started out loud and has now petered out, and no one cares about it.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Bobby Roode beating Dolph Ziggler.
Yep, and the notes here that I've just written: nice tan, Dolph. He had done a pretty bad job of his fake tan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it kind of just really ended at his neck.
Maybe he doesn't need tan. That's part of his gimmick. He doesn't need any frills.
Yeah.
He's just going to come out all pasty. He did tie his hair back into that weird-looking ponytail.
But then, it gets slightly loose, and then he just has little, flicky bits
frizzy
at the top.
hair.
I mean, granted, I'm a man with little to no hair myself, so I can't really pass comment on people's hairstyles.
But this was after... so the women's match didn't get much of a reaction, but I thought it was a fine match. Mm-hmm. The Fashion Files I really enjoyed. That got a reaction. But then the WWE title match was pretty quiet. And then Bobby Roode, for his pay-per-view debut, was put in the buffer part.
He was put in the Divas position.
Yeah, which WWE have that rule to they intentionally bring down the crowd in between the third, the anti-penultimate and the final match of the night, so they pop more at the end. And yeah, if you're trying to get Bobby over, why not put him in a better spot?
Don't put him in this spot here. And for weeks we have been seeing Dolph imitate other people's entrances. We've seen him do the Undertaker's entrance, the Ultimate Warrior's entrance, he's done Naomi's entrance, all done them very poorly. So today he just decided to do R-Truth's entrance from his 2011 gimmick.
But didn't R-Truth walk out yelling stuff?
No, he didn't. The truth has set me free.
Yeah.
Just walked out to complete silence. Something you had predicted on a previous episode.
Well, yeah, I've seen this done before. I can't remember who it was, but in Progress, they had someone whose gimmick was he didn't need any gimmicks. And Dolph Ziggler's doing pretty much exactly what they did.
The Dudleys used to do it as well in ECW.
So, yeah, it was just, again, it was a well-wrestled match. The problem is Meltzer and Wrestling Observer Radio said on the house show circuit, everyone was giving this match rave reviews. Like they were putting on absolute clinics in the live events. But here as soon as I realised it was going to be put in the buffer position, I thought they're not going to be able to have that match.
No, and there was a point I was going to raise, and it's a real shame because you're right. I've heard the same reports, which is like this match is absolutely killing it on the house show circuit. And there is that disparity between what is happening on house shows and what happens on TV and pay-per-views, because you're given a bit of time to work things on house shows, you can actually spend time having these matches. And then when it comes to pay-per-view, you're like, you all can't have that match. So you guys need to go out there, but you're in the buffer match, so don't do too much, because you need to bring the crowd down. So work as a blander match as you possibly can, because we need to save all of the big stuff for the Hell in a Cell match. And as a result, Bobby Roode's pay-per-view debut match is really boring.
It's not glorious. It was meant to be glorious.
And the crowd were absolutely dead. Whereas if they had been given time to work this house show match, this 20-minute house show match that they've been having out in the circuits, they could have riled the crowd up a little bit. And who knows then, that crowd would have been really hot for the main event as well.
Yeah. It's such a bizarre mentality that you need to actively bring down the crowd. Like, why not keep whipping them up in a frenzy like what New Japan and Ring of Honor do, and all the wrestling promotions we actually enjoy in our leisure time. The finish came when Dolph hooked the tights on Bobby Roode, but Bobby Roode rolled through and hooked the tights himself, getting the pin. Bobby beats Dolph at his own game. I saw a few people saying, "Oh, is this Bobby Roode's heel turn?" Wishful thinking.
Very much
He's
so.
Still a babyface. He was just getting one over on the dastardly Ziggler, and then Roode sort of celebrated afterwards. Glorious is playing, and Dolph immediately hits him with a zigzag. Just like the Natalya and Charlotte storyline, this is just the first chapter. So there are going to be more bits.
Unless the reports are to be believed that Dolph is going at the end of the month.
Yeah. I'm apparently, so from those reports,
you all sceptical.
Those
reports.
Well, those same reports now say that Dolph is getting over backstage because of this new gimmickless gimmick.
You're kidding me. That's getting over with people.
Well, it's the reports, isn't it?
So absolute garbage, mate. It's the worst gimmick of 2017.
Yeah, so although not a good match, no, it was a fine match. Although not a very impressive match, I'm not down on the finish because it's obviously telling a
I really
story.
liked the finish. Actually, I thought the finish was very good.
But after an hour now of not that great stuff, definitely not as hot as the first half of the pay-per-view with the three-way and the Hype Bros American Beta match. So similar to No Mercy, that had a very hot first half and a very disappointing second half. Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon went out there and had a spectacle.
An Attitude Era match.
Yeah, a hell of a spectacle match with an absolutely brilliant, shocking twist. Actually, no, not brilliant. Intriguing. I'm very intrigued. I'm genuinely interested to see what happens next.
I agree with your first one.
You think brilliant. Well, okay, let's unpack this. Kevin Owens comes out cosplaying as Seth Rollins. I really liked his new outfit.
I like his new outfit as
Yeah.
well. I mean, it shows a lot of like unimagination. There's that word again. What is I'm after? Unimaginative. That
Lack
is
of
that.
inspiration.
Yeah, well, unimaginative design. Because, like, the design team, if you go to WWEshop.com and look at the t-shirts, every t-shirt just looks the same. They've all got, like, some words here and then words curved around the top of it.
Well, I think those ones you're talking about are the vintage style ones.
But everyone has one. And
because everyone has a vintage style t-shirt.
I'm telling you, man.
Oh, look at Balor Club. Balor Club looks cool. Vintage. Shane O'Mac looks different.
I say, man, go to WWEshop.com. Every t-shirt looks the goddamn same. And now we're here with, and I really like this t-shirt as well, but yeah, Seth Rollins already had this t-shirt.
Well, it's not really a t-shirt though, it's ring attire.
It's a vest.
Yeah.
But all of Kevin Owens' ring attire are his shirts, just with the sleeves cut off, because he's allergic to sleeves.
He's allergic to Achoo! Come off. So Shane immediately went for Owens here, didn't even let him get in the cage, and I thought, is the cage not even going to have anything inside it? Because, all of New Day Usos was inside the cage. I thought for a moment, maybe they'll brawl around the entire arena like they did on Smackdown and then go up on top of the cage.
I actually think it would have been better.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree, because after that initial flurry outside, they went back. Shane locked the gate to then later clip it off with much struggle.
Yeah.
And they had kind of like... It felt heated at the start, and then they just had
They had the buffer match in the middle.
They had a spot bit without much emotion. Like I was enjoying the spots. Like I like Owens' cannonball through the table off the apron. I thought that was really cool. But that was a good table.
The coast to coast.
The coast to coast. But it suddenly didn't feel like this slobber knocker, this heated blood feud that it was meant to be.
So there's a story that Mick Foley tells in his second book when he's talking about the Hell in a Cell match that he had with Triple H at No Way Out 2001 when he was wrestling as Cactus Jack. 2000, I do apologise, when he was wrestling as Cactus Jack. And he said that him and Trips were in the ring and they were doing all these big moves and they were doing like big moves and kickouts and stuff. And Mick's there in his book and he says like, and the crowd just aren't reacting. And it's like, okay, maybe we'll just do it. We need to do these moves harder then because the crowd's just not picking up on this. And he said, we did all these big things and the crowd just weren't doing anything until we went outside and the crowd came alive. And that's when I realised that because of the precedent I'd set in 1998, everyone was just waiting for me to go outside and do the big spots. And I feel that's kind of like what happened with this match here. Especially when you start the match off and you've got Shane diving out and doing his horrible punches. Like, I feel really bad for his Muay Thai trainer because, like, that guy, like, if I was that trainer, I'd be like, don't put my name on this. I didn't train him to do that.
Well, surely in Muay Thai, you're meant to hit the person. So maybe I've trained him so well, he cannot throw a fake punch.
Because those punches are dog awful. But anyway, so you run out and you do these like this big brawl on the outside, and then you go in. But all of the build you've been giving to this match is that, like, I'm going to dive off this, you always dive off that, I'm going to throw you off the cage. So the crowd just were not reacting to anything that's inside the cage. And I was watching going like, I mean, yeah, the coast to coast is cool, the cannonball is cool, but I'm waiting for you to go outside because that's where I know you're heading. And that's why I feel that they should have just stayed outside the cage the entire time, because I think the crowd would have stayed really hot.
I agree that would have been better. Because it didn't have the same... That was the worst part of the match. Not what, it was the least impressive part of the match. And they were doing some cool stuff.
Great stuff.
It wasn't the right thing to do for this.
Especially as well, because this match was 40 minutes.
Yeah, it was a long one.
40 minutes. That's long for any kind of match, let alone a Hell in a Cell match, which is, just a spot fest. And that bit in the middle, if you'd have just cut that bit out, and just had the brawl on the outside and then the brawl up on top, and if you'd have just kept that sort of like, which would have made it like 15, 10, 20 minutes, it'd have been a really spectacular match. Apart from then, you wouldn't have had this lull.
Yeah. People, I think WWE want you to think that Shane had this 5-star classic against The Undertaker, but that was the same. All the stuff inside the cage at the start, it was like, it's dragging a little bit, but then he got outside and it was, he did the elbow off the top.
Yeah, but he does a triangle sometimes, so like he can go toe to toe with The Undertaker.
Yeah, it took him 40 minutes as well. It's just ridiculous. And if they weren't inside the cage, that would have made so much more sense with the Falls Count Anywhere bit that they put in there, which was obviously part of that finish, but they just ignored it for one particular part, which many people have already picked up on. After the Coast to Coast, Shane pins Kevin Owens, and Kevin Owens holds the rope for the rope break. And the referee says, no, that's a rope break, fair play. Not fair play, as Corey Graves very wisely pointed out, well, emotions are running high in there. Maybe that one just slipped through.
He said he did go, but that was a bad call.
Yeah. And that was well done, Corey, but no way was that planned.
Well,
or maybe it was planned.
No, it was planned. The agents put it all together. So everyone sits down and puts these matches together. So they would have said, like, and I'll do, because I'm so close, I'll do a rope break.
But then to not remember the stipulation.
Oh, absolutely,
of the match,
But like, you know, that sort of thing just happens a lot. Like there have been times where they do triple threats when the people are in submissions and they go for the ropes, but there's no rope break in a triple threat match either because there's no disqualification.
But do they do that and go, oh, but people won't care? Or do they do that?
But then you've got JBL on commentary going like, it's a triple threat. There's no DQ.
So yeah, that was a stupid bit. But then they get the second half was far more emotionally investing, particularly because I was terrified.
Yeah.
I was like, my heart was in my throat watching this.
I took very few notes because I couldn't take my eyes off screen.
Shane is laid out on the announcer's table, and Owens is looking at him, and he's like, I'm gonna do it, and he climbs up the cage, and everyone's going crazy. I'm like, I actually don't want you to jump off the cage. My teenage self is furious at me right now because that's the pinnacle of my existence back then, was someone to jump off the top of a cage. But I'm worried, and he kept, like, Owens played it beautifully. He kept going to do it and then freaking out. There's like these angels and demons in his head.
And there's always that thing within Hell in a Cell, particularly in the old days of Hell in a Cell, like, why would everyone go up to the top of the cell? Why do multiple people go up? Like, if you go up, why does someone follow you? And there's always that, you have to kind of give it a contrived reason. I thought this was a genius reason, was like Kevin Owens put himself up there because he had every intention of jumping down, but then chickened out. And then because he took so long, Shane recovered and went up to go and get him. It's a genius bit of storytelling.
Yeah, that was really good. And then they did actual spots.
Every time they hit a move, I was like, I mean, that
big move.
That cell was never in danger of falling through. Like, they'd have gimmicked it to the nines, but they did such a good job of making you think that it was going to. And again, and you won't hear me say this very often, and I'm harsh on WWE commentary, particularly on SmackDown with Tom and Byron. I mean, I'm very harsh with it with Michael and Booker as well. But with Tom and Byron, I'm particularly harsh. The three of them in this match, when they were up on top of that cell, were absolutely brilliant. Just selling it so well. Even when you had Corey Graves and Byron kind of bickering with each other, they were bickering with each other because they were both scared. And they both said, like, I'm just scared. And there was a moment when they just sort of went silent because they were getting ready for another move. And Tom Fuller goes, what more can you say? And I'm like, that's great. Don't say anything, Tom. Let the visuals speak for themselves, because you did have these two guys just hitting like power. I mean, it took them a while to do the pop-up power bomb, but like when they hit it, oh man! And the
suplexes, backdrops.
The first one they did, Shane did the side Russian leg sweep. Divvy just hit his head so hard on the support beams, and you could just see him. Because I mean, have you ever had that when you kind of fall and you hit the back of your head on a wall, particularly when you're a kid and trying to do wrestling moves in your bedroom and you hit your head on the wall? That hurt because it just rattles your brain. And he hit the support beam on his head so hard, I felt it. I was like, oh mate, I bet that hurt. And then when he did the pop-up powerbomb, I did say to myself, I can't believe he didn't put his hands behind his head. Because he just took it as a flat back bump, as you would do if you were doing it on a canvas. But with all those support beams up there, my first instinct would be, I'm putting my hands behind my head, because at least that can cushion the fall.
Just take it very relaxed, like you got your hands back
there. And then just at the last moment, just protect yourself, because it was so hard. It was like, heart in throat.
The camera just made it look so much higher as well, because you can't get close to the action. It just felt so dangerous. Did you notice? And this obviously didn't come to pass, but when they were doing it, they stuck to one particular panel. And I thought, are they sticking to this panel because the other ones are gimmicked? and I thought, oh my God, someone's going through the top of the cage. I don't want this to happen.
Yeah,
I actually don't want it to happen.
But that's kind of why this match was so good, because it constantly had you going like, I don't know what's going to happen.
Edge of my seat, genuinely.
Someone sent us a message this morning saying that they stopped enjoying the match when they went up on top of the cell because they got too scared to watch. And I was like, that's the idea.
Yeah,
like, that's the emotion you're supposed to feel. That's why I thought it was great.
And then after a while, Owens starts to climb down.
Boo, crowd boo.
Which was good, like that's a heel move. And then Shane, I'm the noble babyface, I'm coming after you. And he threw Kevin Owens off the side of the cage, so still a dangerous bump, but not from the top.
It's the same one that Seth and Dean had done at Hell in a Cell a couple of years earlier. And I have written in my notes here, lame crash through the table, promised a lot, but didn't deliver. Because you had all these promos of like, I'm going to throw you off the cell, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And so I wrote that note there, and I was like, yeah, that was a bit lame. And then 20 minutes after the pay-per-view had finished, and I was having a shower, getting ready to come down to the studio, and I suddenly thought to myself, I was like, it wasn't a lame table crash at all. I put that on myself, because of the promos, and because of us talking about things, I built it up in my head more. And I should have known better that they were never going to do the Mick Foley thing. They were never going to throw people on the cell. But I'd built it up into my head that's what they were going to do. That when they did the table crash spot, I was like, that's lame. But really, it's not lame at all. It's actually a very, very good spot. And I suddenly thought to myself, like, oh, it's my fault I didn't like that.
Well, I think if nobody went off the top of the cage, the way it's been built up, that wouldn't have been your fault. But someone did go off the cage.
Someone did go off the cage. So that's what I mean. It's like someone did go off the cage. And it was a really cool looking spot. And it was a great bump to take. And they sold it really well. The EMTs just instantly rushed in. And from then on, the drama was incredible. Because then you had Shane jump down. And he was going to pin him. Literally went to pin him. And then stopped. And was like, no. This dude's done so much to my family. And they did their headbutt spots.
Yeah.
I loved that.
That was really nice, yeah.
This whole feud has almost been built around headbutts. And it was a
that
great...
That felt just like a minor bit. It felt like no one referenced it enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a nice touch. And then, of course, Shane goes up to the top of the cage.
Yep.
He goes to jump. And what's that? Owens got out of the way. Oh, they just did the Undertaker thing again.
That's what I thought.
And then they cut down to a camera on the ground.
Yeah, because Corey Graves shouts, where did Kevin Owens go? And I said to myself, I didn't say it out loud because I was on my own, but I was like, oh, he got up and he moved.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Until the camera panned up, and there's Sami Zayn. And I literally, at this point, I did say out loud, I shouted out loud, oh, Sami!
Oh, no. Oh, Kingslayer. Yeah, it was insane. And we've watched it back. Sami is very clearly there. Shane's at the top, and there's a guy looking, and he's ready to get Kevin Owens. He's quite obviously there, quite obviously going to pull Owens away. But no one's looking at him. No one. We weren't. Everyone's looking at Shane.
No one in the crowd had noticed him come from the back. No one noticed him crawling around ringside because everyone was so focused on Shane. That's genius.
That is sleight of hand. They call it in magic.
Absolutely, it was so good. What a moment it was. Because Sami, a fantastic actor. Incredible to think that, if rumours are to be believed, he spent a lot of his career under a mask, but I'm pretty sure they're different.
No. El Generico.
Yeah, it's common misconception.
El Generico trained him, and that's where, it's so impressive that he can act that way, considering he was taught by someone in a mask.
Who can't speak a lick of English.
Yeah, incredible.
But Sami's such a good actor, and he sold this moment so well. I thought this was a perfectly executed heel turn.
Yeah.
Loved every single thing about this, because you had Sami, he'd pulled Kevin off, and it was like he did that out of instinct. He did that because he wanted to save his best friend from being crushed. It almost felt like he went down to try and stop everything, and then was like, I know I need to save Kevin, and then doing so he was like, what have I just done? And then he was looking at Shane and was like, I've done the right thing.
Is that how it played out in your mind? That he went down to save his friend?
I think that he'd gone down to try and stop the madness, because as soon as they were on the cage, I was like, I was waiting for Sami to come down and try and encouraging them to get down and to kind of stop this insanity. That's kind of how I read it, and then it was and he saw Kevin in that position. He was like, I need to save him.
But they should have, if that's what they were doing, they should have shown that. They should have shown Sami trying to stop.
But brilliantly,
don't go up the cage.
But Shane. But brilliantly, they've actually done it in a much better way, because now we're having these discussions of what Sami's motive is. But perhaps my reading on it is completely wrong.
Yeah, I don't think your reading.
What's your reading on it?
Well, I think you're probably going to get a promo on Tuesday. I've tried to do things the right way, tried to do things the Sami way ever since I got here, because you had those lines between Owens and Sami backstage, and in the like in the ring, like at least I can look at myself in the mirror. I don't have all those championships like you do, Kevin, but yeah, I can look at myself.
Just the promo when I predicted the Sami heel turn was going to come.
And
I think, in fact, I predicted that he was going to be laid on a table and Sami was going to pull him off.
I do, as I said outside, you are more in tune with WWE's crappy storytelling.
Oh, behave yourself. It's great storytelling.
And so, yeah, so this is going to be the SmackDown promo. Sami says all of that, but look where it's got me. I haven't been in a main event pay-per-view, whereas Kevin Owens, he's always in the main event. He's been a Universal Champion. He's facing a McMahon. So I took it upon myself to do things the Kevin way. And I think that's the story they're going to tell.
Basically, we are telling the same story, just with slightly different... Yeah. Of, I need to save this guy. Because that will make Shane crash.
Yeah. But I don't think he ran down there like, I've got to stop this whole match.
No, It's trying to like give a reason to wait to that. Yeah.
But that's why it was so good afterwards. Sami's got this wonderful expression in his face, which Owens has been doing so well in the build-up of this feud, and that's I don't think I did the right thing, but I'm conflicted. I'm so conflicted right now.
Just once again, this is the same story that I'm telling, but Ollie's telling me I'm wrong. Just putting that out there.
This is the part I'm agreeing with
you. Literally said I was wrong, and then you're repeating back to me what I said to you.
No, I thought you said that Sami Zayn came down to stop the match.
No, I said that,
and then realised, no, I love my best friend.
No, I don't think. If I said that, if that's how it came across, that's not what I meant.
That's what I mistakenly thought you said.
Perhaps that's what I did say, but that's not quite what I meant.
Cool. But yeah, so. Yeah, what a cliffhanger! Because it didn't look like Kevin Owens was in on it.
No, and the commentators kept saying that Kevin doesn't even know that he's won the match. He has no idea what's happened. And there is a brilliant moment where we're talking about like Sami's facial expressions here when they're putting him on the board, and Sami again is conflicted and doesn't know what to do, and he suddenly just goes like, "This is wrong, and starts pushing these people off, and just like drags Kevin and like just bulls him over into it, and then grabs the ref and is like, "Count." Oh, what! Like, just awesome from T to B, top to bottom. This was awesome.
So I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but there was a This is such a tiny geeky moment, and it probably wasn't intentional. But I love the Kevin Owens Chris Jericho feud. A big part of that was the creation of Kevin in the Festival of Friendship segment. Where Kevin is leaning out to touch. I can't remember what painting it's a mimic of, but they're both scantily clad and they're both trying to touch each other's fingers. And then that was a big part of their feud, where it was Kevin Owens was a finger away, got the finger rope break across 2 different matches. And here Sami Zayn reaches out to take Kevin Owens' hand to drag him off.
I think you are reading far too much into that.
I didn't, but like Owens and Jimmy Jacobs are the kind.
But unlike you, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong.
No, tell me I'm wrong. Then tell me exactly what I said back. That's the way you do it. So yeah, a genuinely interesting cliffhanger. I cannot wait for SmackDown.
Do you know what? I was messaging my buddy because he's out in America at the moment. I messaged him because he watched the pay-per-view live. He said, it's brilliant watching it in America because it ends at such a reasonable hour.
Well, it's still half an hour over.
Yeah. But he messaged him and he's like, I'm really intrigued for SmackDown. And I said to him, I was like, for the first time in a while, I feel like I'm really excited to watch SmackDown and see where this storyline is going. And not like, we haven't had that many pay-per-views this year where the pay-per-view is finished and you're like, man, I can't wait to tune into the following night to see how this storyline is going to progress next. Because if they are like following through with what was teased on Talking Smack, which is going to be Kevin and Sami versus Shane and AJ, like that's a great pay-per-view match to do it for the December show after Survivor Series. Because now you've got all these questions about what they're going to do for Survivor Series. Are they going to do the traditional 5-on-5?
Yeah.
In which case, if they are you going to have Sami, Kevin, Shane and AJ on the same team?
Well, how about we just quickly answer Patreon backer John McBride of Frankenstein's question?
Because he was there.
He was there. He's our boy in Detroit. Just got home from Hell in a Cell. My question is, how will Sami do as a heel?
Brilliantly.
So, yeah, you think he's good? Because I've never seen him as a heel.
Well, no, because Sami's never worked as heel. Sami's been perpetual. He's been like...
And El Generico. I've never seen El Generico as a separate person. But, he was trained by him. I never saw him as a heel either.
No, but I think that Sami's got so many, like, this character piece is brilliant because it works so beautifully off that promo where it's just like, doing everything the Sami way has got you nothing. It got you a very short NXT championship reign, and then it got you absolutely nothing after that. You haven't won a championship since then. You've been not booked on pay-per-views, and now Sami is looking at it the Kevin Owens way. That is just a genius thing. And you said when we did... Man, whose heel turn was it when we did Fantasy Booking Warfare? Was it a Roman heel turn?
I don't think we've done a Roman heel turn.
We did
Bayley?
Yes, we did the Bayley heel turn there, and you said the only reason you should turn someone heel, if they're like a great babyface, the only reason to turn them heel is if your end goal is to make them an even bigger babyface coming out of it. And telling this story with Sami should make him an even bigger babyface coming out of this.
So, yeah, I agree with you. I'm not going to disagree and then actually agree with you again. But I think Sami will do spectacularly as a heel. I think Sami and Kevin Owens as a tag team, that makes my Ring of Honor heart swell with joy. I'm enormously excited to see that.
Did you see the picture that Kevin Owens posted up on Instagram?
No.
It was them, I'm guessing at a Ring of Honor show or a show somewhere because he's wearing a Kevin Steen t-shirt and he's hugging El Generico. And it was just like, it was like almost posted without comments.
Oh, that makes me happy. It's like quite overwhelming to follow their.
You're looking a little bit glassy-eyed.
Well, it's just it's cool. I really like them as really like them as wrestlers, and I have them for a long time. And to see them now at the top of SmackDown like this it's quite something. And I think the long-term plan is I would love to see Sami and Kevin do a proper heel tag team run, and maybe that's who. I know the Usos have got the belts. I was going to say that's who New Day could go against. But I would love to see a tag team run with them, and then they get so over that they become a babyface tag team. And then they're a babyface unit for ages, and then Owens turns on Sami, and then Sami's a huge babyface. And then
you build to a really great WrestleMania match, not at next year's WrestleMania, or the year after that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The year after that.
Yeah, so now, at the start of this review, I said it was intriguing rather than brilliant. And that is because I'm sad that it's come to this. I'm sad that it's come to Sami Zayn having to turn heel. I'm sad that if Bayley ever turns heel, I'm sad it would have come to that, because those are super babyface characters that should have had proper multi-year babyface runs in the upper mid-card to the top of the card. But they will never get to have that first run like that because of bad booking and bad placement and being left at the back of at the bottom of the pile. So, yeah, as Sami Zayn heel turn works well in story, works well from a character perspective, but it's just because he hasn't done anything.
Well, it's the Roman Reigns thing. Like, people boo Roman Reigns because he's been booked so poorly. So now everyone's just like, well, let's turn him. The crowd go, you need to turn him heel, turn him heel. But we're only saying that because like the booking has been so poor that we've been... You can't pull that face because when he was a babyface, we were cheering him. Initially, when he was part of the Shield and when he first broke away from the Shield, we were cheering him.
Yeah.
But then piss poor booking has spiraled him to the point now where we're like, I don't care about him anymore, and it's awful. And it's the same with Sami Zayn, where he was so over, but piss poor booking has just spiraled him into the point now of complete indifference, where he doesn't get any sort of reaction. So the only thing you have left is to turn him heel. But you shouldn't have got to this point.
My counter to that would be, I think Roman was a badass babyface, which lends itself. I feel like he's a natural heel. But he has got a heel's face. Yeah, whereas Sami Zayn is a natural babyface. He's a natural underdog.
Absolutely.
So I disagree with that particular comparison. But yeah.
Are you now going to say that I was right?
You're going to
say the same point, but make it sound like it was your point.
But it is my... So who do you think had the better points throughout the show,
well,
before
we do... we need to finish off Fantasy Booking Warfare results.
Oh, you mean the predictions results?
That's exactly what I meant.
Right that time. Okay, so you won the first round with Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. It was a draw on the second with the Usos winning. Luke won the third one with Randy Orton. It was a draw next with Baron Corbin. Then I won with Charlotte Flair.
God damn it, DQ booking.
Even though it was a DQ. Then I won with Fashion Files not revealing the attackers.
Just being a regular episode. I should have seen that coming.
That was something we actually tried to predict. I won with Jinder Mahal
Damn it, Jinder.
Winning, because you said it would be a Shinsuke Nakamura
DQ win.
We both won with Bobby Roode, and I won with Kevin Owens winning.
Damn it, Shane.
So that's 6-4.
7-5 I make it.
7-5, even better. So yeah, first blood.
Absolutely.
I go ahead at the start.
Well done, you.
Well done.
Well done.
I was right in the end. I won the rightness. So all the good points Luke made in this video are now my points.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because I won the predictions. Click the videos that have just appeared over Luke's face to catch up with the latest WrestleRamble or WrestleTalk news. Subscribe to this YouTube channel and, of course, the podcast version of WrestleRamble 2. And support WrestleTalk on Patreon, where the new Patreon-exclusive podcast has gone up.
To rave reviews.
Yeah, people like it. This has been Luke Owen. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was Rambling.